Okay, people. So women's basketball still they have a long way to go in terms of level of competition being spread out amongst all of the teams in women's D1 basketball and just women's basketball in general overall when compared to the men's because when you look at the tournament, you're seeing major upsets, whether that's Oral Roberts or Loyola Chicago and several others. These Cinderella upsets, you're seeing these upsets, and this happens every year. But this year in men's basketball, it's happened a lot so far in the tournament, as to the point where everyone's bracket is busted. There's no more perfect brackets in men's basketball in the tournament, right? But in women's basketball, the top seeds, they've won. So you don't get those upsets. Now, we do have some first round matchups that will happen today. I'm hoping that we can see some upsets, but so far that's not the case. So I'll go through it. As you can see, number 5, Iowa beat number 12, Central Michigan. Not an upset. Number 7, Virginia Tech beat Marquette. Not an upset. So the higher seeds are winning. And on the men's side, that's not the case. And I'll explain why this is a problem. The higher seed, Oklahoma, beat Wake Forest. The higher seed, Kentucky, beat Idaho State. Tennessee beat Middle Tennessee State. Michigan beat Florida Gulf Coast. North Carolina State beat North Carolina A&T. Baylor beat Jackson. Georgia Tech beat, SF Austin. Yeah. So Georgia Tech beat SF Austin. Syracuse beat South Dakota State. Carolina beat Mercer. South Carolina beat Mercer. Oregon State beat Florida State. West Virginia beat Lehigh. Connecticut beat High Point. South Florida beat Washington State. And Stanford beat Utah Valley State. So, but on the men's side, this isn't happening. Okay, you're getting these 16 seeds and lower seeds who are beating these top seeds. And one of the reasons why that is a problem is because it's showing that women's basketball isn't growing at the rate that men's basketball is in terms of competition. Now, on the men's side, it's a little bit easier, if you will, to get some of these upsets because every man is almost just athletic as another man. So that they all can dunk, they all can jump really high, most of them. Okay, most of them are tall. Okay, so you're going to have size and length and athleticism. Okay, the strength in terms of being strong, lifting weights, muscular, and the level of strength is there. So you're going to have strength. You're going to have height, size, wingspan, athleticism. What happens is that everything else, they just got to fill them in with everything else. And that comes through practice and preparation and training and confidence and being coached up. And so that's what's happening. The coaches are instilling in them this will to believe that they can do the impossible, that they can do what people think that they can't do, what they shouldn't be able to do because they're a lower seed. And they're saying, listen here, you tie your shoes, you lace up your shoes just the way they do. Okay, we have size. We're strong, physically strong. We're athletic too. What we just have to do is make shots and defend and just follow this game plan, follow the scouting report, and let's just go to work. You can do this. You can do this. They lace up their shoes just the way you lace up your shoes, right? But on the women's side, you're having the better recruits are going to these teams who you see winning, right? The better recruits are going to these teams you see winning, okay? And a lot of the athleticism is funneled to some of these major programs. A lot of these athletic women are really funneled to some of these major programs. And the lower seed, the smaller programs, that's just not the case. There's always women on some of these lower seed programs who are athletic, but it's just not the way that it is to the higher seed teams, the way that it is for the higher seed teams. And yeah, I mean, it does come down to coaching and all of that stuff, but the disparity is real. The disparity is real. You can see it. You can see it. It's a clear difference. It's a clear difference between the talent, the higher seeds and their talent, and the lower seeds, and they just can't catch up. They just can't catch up. Unlike the men's, they can catch up because they're equal in a lot of ways. Height, strength, athleticism, they're equal in a lot of ways. And it's just up to the coaching to get them prepared to win these games. And then that happens. On the women's side, that's not the case in terms of speed and athleticism and length and all of that. It's just not the case. There's a huge gap. And so the coaches can prepare them and do the best that they can. But when you're talking about there's a huge gap in terms of talent, that's a problem. And so the level of competition falls off. And so you just see these higher seeds constantly winning. And, you know, you can look at today's games. Now, it's possible that we can see an upset with UNC beating Alabama. That's definitely possible. I believe Rutgers is going to win. Georgia's probably going to destroy Drexel. Arizona's most likely going to destroy Stony Brook. Indiana's they'll most likely destroy VCU. I'm very intrigued with Wright State. Wright State has done a really great job this year in their conference, and I'm really intrigued with Wright State. That could be an upset, and I know it's like, but over Arkansas, but if you watched Wright State, they compete at an extremely high level, okay? And so I wouldn't be surprised if Wright State somehow pulled it off, but it does seem impossible. So I'm at least, based on what I've seen from Wright State, I'm gonna give them a chance, but it's doubtful. So Arkansas is probably gonna win that. Gonzaga is most likely gonna beat Belmont. Maryland is probably gonna destroy Mount St. Mary's. This is a tough one. UCF could pull this off. Okay, UCF could pull this off. So, I don't know what's going on with Arizona State and Houston. We're going to leave that one alone. Troy is probably going to get destroyed most likely. Now, this is a tough one because Michigan State could beat Iowa State. So we might see 2 upsets today, a possible 3. Missouri State, UC Davis, that could be an upset as well, right? Louisville is probably going to destroy Marist. Texas is probably going to destroy Bradley. Oregon is most likely going to destroy South Dakota. And UCLA most likely is going to destroy Wyoming. So today there's a potential for 3 or 4 upsets. And I'll just run through them one last time. UNC is one potential upset. UCF over Northwestern, that's 2. That's potentially 2. Michigan State over Iowa State, that's potentially 3. And that's it. So you really and maybe Wright State can pull it off based on the way they've been playing this year. It's possible, but so you potentially could have 3 or 4 upsets today. I'll say realistically 3 could happen today. If that happens, that's great. Okay, that's great. But what's really great, okay, because when you look at the upsets that I named, whether that's UCF or Michigan State, is Michigan State over Iowa State really, really an upset, right? It's not the same as Wright State beating Arkansas State. Beating Arkansas. That's a true upset. That shows growth. If Wright State beats Arkansas, that shows growth. Okay, that shows growth. That shows that this belief of this hope for parity in women's collegiate basketball is happening. It's happening before our eyes. We're not seeing that, right? On the women's side, there really isn't any parity. Okay, it's always the top seeds moving on, the top seeds in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 in the Final Four and in the national championship. It's always that way. Okay, it's beyond rare that it's not that way. On the men's side, you'll see smaller seeds, Cinderella teams moving on to the Sweet 16, to the Elite 8, even the Final Four. We've seen that. But on the women's side, that's just not the case, right? Is Drexel really going to be in the Sweet 16? Okay, so or the Elite 8, right? So there's just not enough parity in women's collegiate basketball. And one of the reasons are that these girls coming out of high school, the best ones, they're choosing these major programs, these big time programs. Okay, it's just like, hey, that's where all the cool kids are. That's where I'm going. And they say, well, I just want to increase my level of play. So I want to play for this big program. They play in a competitive conference and they have a really great coach who can get me to the next level. But that doesn't help women's collegiate basketball as a whole. It doesn't help. And so you need for some of these girls to start choosing some of these other programs, okay, for women's basketball to really be complete. And this is one of the reasons why it's not really fun to watch the first 2 rounds. It just isn't. It's not really fun to watch the first 2 rounds. I think the second round gets a little better. It's more exciting, but definitely the first round, it's not really fun to watch the first round. You watch it because you love women's basketball. You just can't wait for the tournament to start. So yeah, you do watch the first round, but it's obvious. Okay, it's obvious. Everyone first round, in terms of their bracket, how their bracket went for first round in women's basketball, no one lost so far. Everyone is perfect. It's predictable. And in men's basketball, it's not that way. And this is why you'll see the ratings for the men's basketball is so greater and so higher than the women's. Okay, in terms of people's level of interest in watching the first round of the tournaments, if you do a juxtaposition, if you compare it, they'll say, well, I'll always watch the men's first round more than the women's because the women's is just too predictable. Okay, there won't be any lower seeds who'll win. Outside of today, I think it's pretty obvious that you could say, I think North Carolina is going to beat Alabama. That's something you can totally believe in. You can trust that. Okay, you can definitely trust that. But you could say Listen, I truly believe it's likely UCF could beat Northwestern. I could totally see that. I can totally see Michigan State beating Iowa State. So I just gave you three, but that's as far as it goes. And that's sort of obvious because the teams that you can see winning tomorrow in women's basketball are big time programs. Michigan State is a big time program. Okay, UCF is a big time program, right? That's not some bottom feeder team, if you will. What's the other team? UCF, that's a big time program. Okay, that's a big time program. So it's not Loyola Chicago, it's not Oral Roberts, right? It's UNC. It's UNC. People like, so it's like, that's not really compelling. It's not compelling because UNC should beat Alabama, even though Alabama is a really good team, but UNC isn't some bottom feeder team either. Okay, so it's just not there. It's just not there. And listen, these coaches at these smaller programs, they're going to have to get creative with recruiting, with the type of players that they bring there, and they might even have to come up with a new system, a new kind of offense that we've never seen before, a new defense that we've never seen before, a new approach to defense, to offense that we've never seen before, the type of players that they bring in. Okay, and I have some ideas. I probably won't ever get to coach in college. Okay, I used to coach girls basketball years ago. Okay, like if you little league, if you will, women girls basketball, but and we were outmatched. But we won games. We won games because I brought in a new philosophy. Okay, 100 miles an hour, and we intercept every pass that you throw, because every pass that you threw, it was slow to us. It was in slow motion, because the way that I would train them, I would gun basketballs. Okay, I would say, I'm going to throw this basketball at this wall as hard as I can. This is going to go at a higher velocity than a normal pass would go in basketball. So I want you to try to intercept this. I want you to try to get this. And if you can do this when you play in a regular game, every basketball pass is going to be in slow motion to you. And I would use basketballs and I would use footballs. And I would gun it like a pitcher throwing a 95, 98 mile an hour pitch at the wall. I would just gun it. And I would tell them to stay at a certain distance. And I want you to get here and tip it before it hits that wall. And it was hard, but we kept at it all the time at practice. And then it got easier. It got easier for the players. And I never let up. I was gunning it. I was gunning at that basketball and those footballs. And they start getting them. They became used to it. So then when we play games, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it was there. So you have to come with a different mindset, a different approach when you're outmatched. Okay. And like, I'll never forget one of my girls, when she got in high school and started playing high school basketball, she would come to me and say, "Coach, it works. It works. I intercepted 3 passes today. It works. It works." Yeah, it works. Absolutely, it works. And they never forget that. They never, ever, ever forget those things like that. I would tell them, if we got to get 100 jump balls today, then that's what we're going to get. I said, every time a player touches the basketball on the opposing team, grab it and just hold it. Hold it. Like, don't ever let them dribble. Don't ever in your life let them dribble. Just grab it and hold it. And times we would get fouled, and sometimes they wouldn't get there in time, or the player was strong enough to not force a jump ball. But a lot of times it was jump ball, right? And so that's just the way that it was. Like, don't even just show them you're here and nothing is going to be easy. We're going to grab this basketball and they're going to call a jump ball and we're just going to go from there. Okay, but you're going to let them know that we don't even want you taking a dribble. We don't even want you taking a dribble. Okay, and you better start throwing these passes with some velocity or some bounce passes or some serious lob passes, some serious accurate lob passes. Okay, because we're coming after it. And so this is how you have to go into it. When you're outmatched, you got to find different ways to win games. Okay, to be different, to let the other team know this isn't going to be an easy win at all. Like the way this team plays, they have a huge chance of winning. And that's the way they're going to have to do in these smaller programs in college. They're going to have to come up with a unique philosophy, a different approach, a different mindset, or invent a new offense, invent a new defense, okay, or recruit in a certain kind of a player. So since I'm probably never going to coach women's basketball in college, because that's what I want to do. I want to coach in college. The next step for me is to try to build a team, like build a college. Okay, I gotta find a way to do that and to get my own college, my own university, and whether I gotta run that independently or join a conference, whether that's the SWAC or the MAC, whatever. Like, I have to figure this out because I have some great ideas, and I've shared these ideas like about 8 years ago on Twitter, and I kept it up for like 2 years. And then I said, well, let me keep this to myself just in case I'm able to get my own university one day. And but some teams adopted it, like Tennessee adopted it. And so Oregon State adopted it. You see Stanford has adopted some of it. I shared this with coaches on social media, and from high school coaches to college coaches. I did this over a 2-year period, not only on Twitter but on Facebook as well. And so some of them adopted it. They really did. And what that is that's men's height at every position. Men's basketball height, men's collegiate basketball height at every position. So like I used to tell them, if you got a 6'6" big, she should be a small forward or a shooting guard. Okay, your 6'4" center, she should be a shooting guard or a point guard. Your 6'3" big should be a point guard. Okay, and this is how you approach it. Me personally, I'm gonna have a team whenever I get my university. I'm gonna have a team full of players who are 6'8" and up. The lowest I'll accept is 6'7". I'm not accepting any player on my team under 6'7". You have to be 6'7" and up and taller to be on my team. And they're all over the world. These girls who are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", they're all over the world. But they're stuck at the big position and they're taught to stay down there. Block shots, grab rebounds. Okay, be a defensive presence and be an intimidator. And that's not I'm gonna find all of these centers, okay, who are 6'7" and taller. And we're gonna bring them in and we're gonna train them how to be guards and how to be point guards and shooting guards and wings. That's how we're going to train them. We're going to go through all of these ball handling drills, ball protection drills. We're going to go through all of these passing drills, all of these shooting drills and guarding on the perimeter. We're going to go through all of that. And I have a unique way of training that I won't reveal. So I can reveal my idea for height. But this unique form of training that I've come up with, all thanks be to my creator, is beyond unique. So I won't share that. But in terms of me sharing height, okay, that's fine. And you're seeing a little bit of that, but not the way that I want it. So my team is going to be full of Brittany Griners and Tierra McCowans. Okay. And Elizabeth Cambage is like, that's my team. And they're going to be guards. You're going to see 6'7" guards. You're going to see 6'8", 6'9" shooting guards and small forwards, 6'10" centers, 6'11" centers. That's my team. Okay. And we're going to most likely win every single game. We'll never lose a game. We'll never lose a game because you can try to drop the way I'm training them. You're not going to drop. Here's what you tell tall players like that'll be on my team. This is what you tell them. Okay. Do you see Paul George? Paul George is 6'9". He's your height. He's your height, Madeline. If I got a woman on my team whose name is Madeline and she's 6'9", and I moved her to the shooting guard or small forward position, Paul George is 6'9", Madeline. Do you see the way he's moving his feet? Do you see the way he's shuffling? Do you see the way he's backpedaling? Do you see the way he's running as if he was 6 feet tall? Okay, there's no loss in movement or rhythm. He's 6 foot. He's playing defense and he's moving not like he's 6'9", and not moving like he's clumsy or unsure of his footing. He's moving like he's just 6 feet tall. You can do the same thing. I don't want you to backpedal slow. I don't want you to shuffle your feet slow. I don't want any of it. I don't want it to ever look clumsy or to ever look awkward or out of order. Right? Madeline, you're 6'9". I want you to move like you're 6 feet. If Paul George can do it, you can do it. Chrissy, you're 6'5". Guess who's else 6'5"? James Harden. And James Harden isn't moving like his feet is stuck in mud. Okay, you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing. Okay, Renee, you're 6'3". You know who else is 6'3"? Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook isn't moving like his feet are stuck in mud. He's moving like he's 5'11" and 5'10". That's what I want you to do. That's what I want you to do. These men in the NBA are 6'7", 6'10", 6'11", 6'8". And the way they move as if they were 6 feet or 5'9". Okay, and that's the way I want you to move on defense and on offense. And listen, you train them, right? Your legs are going to get stronger. Your core will get stronger, right? Every part of you will be ripped. At this university, at this program, you're going to be ripped, cut up, okay, from head to toe. Okay, and that's the way this is going to be, and you're going to explode. You're going to be explosive. You're going to run and move like you're all 6 foot or 5'9" guards. That's the way you're all going to move. Okay, that's the way you're all going to move. Okay, Kandiche, do you see DeAndre Jordan? He's 6'11". You see the way he's running and moving? He doesn't move like he's a 6'11" center. He moves like he's a 6'7" small forward. You're going to move that same way, Kandiche. You're going to move that same way, right? And we're going to get your legs right, your core, every part of you right. And we're going to train you to move just like DeAndre Jordan. Just like DeAndre Jordan. Okay? And that's just the way it's going to be. That's just the way it's going to be. Nancy, you're 6'10", just like Myers Leonard. But Myers Leonard doesn't move like his feet are stuck in mud. And you're going to move that same way. And we're going to train you to run that same way, backpedal that same way, shuffle that same way all across the board. Okay? And we're going to go through these shooting drills, these passing drills, these perimeter, playing defense on the perimeter, switching, all of that stuff. We're going to go through all of this and you'll win every game. Number one, they can't shoot over you. They just can't. They can't shoot over you and they can't block your shot like ever. Okay. They can try to blow by you, but when they come to the paint, there's going to be a 6'11" center and a 6'10" small forward. Okay, there's going to be a 6'9" small forward. They're going to have to blow by a 6'8" shooting guard. They're going to have to blow by a 6'7" point guard. Okay, right, and it's going to be, you're going to get probably every single rebound unless one slips out of your hand or bounces weird off the rim. And the best thing that they could try to do is beat you in transition and get out and run. But remember, we're not training you to run like a big. We're training you to run like guards. These women could never outrun Paul George or an NBA team in transition. That would be extremely difficult. Or a college team, a men's college team. And these men are 6'6", 6'8", 6'10", 7 feet. And they still couldn't outrun them in transition. It would be extremely difficult for them to do that. Obvious, some women are faster than men, but that's extremely difficult. If you take a women's collegiate team right now and put them up against a men's team and tell them beat them in transition, whew, that's a tough ask. That's a tough ask. And so that's what I'm going to sell my players, right? We're going to run. We're going to run, and we're going to run as hard as we can. And you won't look sloppy or clumsy when you run. You won't look slow of foot. Okay. Do you know that Wilt Chamberlain was 7'1"? Wilt Chamberlain was 7'1" and had Olympic track speed, world-class speed he had. He qualified for the Olympics. Okay. Wilt Chamberlain at 7'1". So if Wilt Chamberlain can have speed like that, you can too. And we're going to train you for that. You won't get beat in transition. So there's no way Don Staley can say, we're not going to beat them in a half court, but we are going to get out and outrun them in transition. No, you're not. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because I can tell my team, here's our strategy. Some crash and some get back. I want 2 of you crashing. I want the other 3 back in transition. We're going to win that rebounding because we're 6'10", 6'11", 6'9". We're going to get those rebounds. So if I only leave 2 back to crash and the other 3 get back in transition, limit transition, I mean, it's just not going to happen, right? Plus, that doesn't matter, right? So this is what I'm saying about recruiting a different kind of a player to your team. There's gold out here. There's diamonds out here, right? But you have to have a different approach. You have to have new ideas. You have to be innovative and creative. And, forget the 5'9" guards. I mean, that's cool if you want them, but that's not what we want, right? We obviously can't out-recruit Uconn for the traditional players that they bring in, okay, in terms of height and all of that, right? We can't out-recruit them. But there's gold out here, and these women are 6'9" and 6'7" and 6'8". Some are 6'10", some are 6'11". They're not only in America, but they're around the world. They're in France, they're in Africa, they're in Russia, they're in Spain, they're in Germany. Okay, they're out here, and we're gonna go find them and bring them to America, to this university, and we're gonna train them to be guards and small forwards. And they won't move like their feet are stuck in mud. Okay, so when you do this, then you can have a 16 seeded team to be the number 1 seeded team. That's gonna happen. We're gonna block you. You try to shoot a 3 over a 6'7" guard, a 6'8" shooting guard. Are you serious? It ain't happening. And you could do a pump fake and try to blow by, but then you're gonna be in this forest. And then you're going to have to try to kick it out, and our length is going to get there. And if you miss that low percentage 3-point shot you took, 10 times out of 10, we're going to get the rebound. If you dare to try to jump amongst these trees in the forest, guess what it's going to be? It's going to be a wild circus adjustment layup that you're going to have to pray goes in. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of screen action and pick and roll, and you can roll all you want, but you're going to roll right into a tree. Okay? And that's the way that this is going to fly. So these coaches aren't thinking this way. They're just not. They're not thinking that way. They're not. Now, Tennessee, they're trying. They're trying, but now that they have a new coach, Kelly Harper, she's not doing what Holly was doing. Holly wanted them all big. I was communicating with some of these coaches on social media, and word got around, and right after that, a year after that, you started to see this change come in. Okay, I'm communicating with Coach Yo about it. I mean, this is what I was doing, and but I never told them about 6'10", 6'11", 6'9". At that time, you talking about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I was talking about 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", right? My mind has changed, okay? Because I'm looking at it, these women can do whatever the men can do, right? Whatever the man can do. And if a 6'11" man can move like a small forward, so can a 6'11" woman, right? And so things are changing now, and you have to see it that way. And then also, there's going to be more dunks on my team as well. We're going to throw lobs, so the plan will be different. Gino has never ever had to defend a lob. I'm talking about a dunk, right? Different kinds of plays for lobs. Like Don Staley, Tara, they've never ever had to coach for that. They don't even know what to do in a situation like that. You understand? And so that's just the way that it is, man. That's just the way that it is. So now I do want to get into where's Uconn at? Okay, so Uconn obviously destroyed High Point. Paige Bueckers did good. I think she had 6 assists, 9 rebounds, and 24 points, I think. And she had a couple blocks, I think. So I thought Paige did really well yesterday. She threw some strong, crisp passes. She's very assertive and aggressive. And I really, really like that. She's aggressive when shooting. She's aggressive when deciding to blow by. Her passes they got English on it. Her passes, they got some spin to it, some velocity to it. It's aggressive passing, and I love that from her. I really, really do. I really love that from her. That's going to transition well to the WNBA. So I was, and obviously going up against High Point isn't saying much. So, we got to wait till the next round and see where it goes. But I think the true test is going to be against Iowa. If Iowa can get by Kentucky, for the next round, and then you're probably going to see Uconn versus Iowa in that third round when they get to the Sweet 16. You'll see Uconn versus Iowa, and that's what everyone wants to see. That's the big matchup, Caitlyn Clark versus Paige Bueckers. That's what everyone wants to see. Caitlyn Clark did well yesterday, too. 23 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. So she did really good. She had the play of the day, okay, with that behind-the-back pass and heavy traffic. So she had the play of the day, and, they won. And so they both had good games. They both had good games yesterday. So, that's what everyone wants to see, that matchup. But Iowa, it's tough. They got to get past Kentucky. You talking about Ryan Howard? That's not going to be easy at all. So Iowa has their work cut out for them. But you saw just how amazing and special Caitlyn is. First of all, Sue Bird said that Caitlyn is the most exciting player in women's basketball. That's coming from an alum from Connecticut saying that. Also, if you listen to the commentary, Caitlyn is all they have. Whenever Caitlyn set out, if you watch that game, whenever Caitlyn set out, they start losing, right? The scores started to disappear. Okay, the scores started to evaporate. It just started to go away. I'm talking about the lead. It just started to go away. And they had Caitlyn really didn't get much rest because soon as she would sit, that's when the lead would just go down. Okay. And they started to dwindle. Okay. And the lead started to disappear. And next thing you know, she had to hurry up and put Caitlyn right back in. And then you heard what the commentators were saying. They were like, man, like Caitlyn can't sit. She can't sit. As soon as she sits, the lead starts to fall. The lead that they have starts to go away fast. And the women are out of order. They don't really know quite how to handle themselves when Caitlyn's not in there. And they said they asked the head coach, and the head coach said, if you take Caitlyn off of this team, we're a completely different team. Like probably not even in a tournament if Caitlyn isn't on this team. But if you remove Paige from UConn is still going to make the tournament. UConn is still going to win against High Point in the first round without Gino or Paige. You can remove Gino as he is removed in the first 2 rounds, and you can remove Paige, and UConn would still win the first 2 rounds of the tournament. UConn would still get into the tournament. UConn would still win the Big East tournament. Okay, without Paige. Probably not without Gino, right? Probably would without Gino, but without Paige, UConn would still win the Big East. Without Paige, UConn would still win against High Point. And they would win the second round. You can't say that about Iowa. Iowa probably wouldn't even have made the tournament if Caitlyn wasn't on their team. Okay. And that's just a fact. That's just a fact, right? And so this is why I'm telling you the value of Caitlyn is so. You're talking about they went against a tough team, Central Michigan. Central Michigan has been on a roll lately in the last several years making a tournament, and they've been a tough out for any team, Central Michigan, playing in a MAC conference. Central Michigan ain't no High Point. So UConn plays High Point and obliterates them. Iowa had a tough win against Central Michigan. That's not some rollover team. Okay, that's not some rollover team, right? And that might serve them well against Connecticut because Connecticut played Idaho State. They had a tough first half, but then just destroyed them in the second half. Okay, pretty much. Iowa fought back in that fourth quarter. Idaho State fought back in that fourth quarter, but that's a scrappy team, Idaho State. They really are, but and an athletic team. But yeah, so I mean, Iowa had the toughest matchup out of those 3 teams, especially Connecticut, going up against Central Michigan. And you saw when Caitlyn sits, the lead disappears. It starts disappearing fast. But when Caitlyn gets back in the game, everything is perfect again. Okay, everything is running smooth again, right? You got to double her. You have to. I've seen them triple her, run 3 players at her, right? This is how important she is, right? She can shoot the deep 3. She can get whatever shot she wants. She's physical. She's aggressive, attacking the rim. Like her passes are good. She has really good court vision, pass perception, all of those things like that. And so, and she'll get out and defend. She'll scrappy. She'll dive on the floor. She's a tough player. She's a tough player. And so Caitlyn is more vital, more important, okay, more essential for her team than Paige is. Now, if Paige played for Idaho State would have probably won yesterday against Kentucky because Kentucky had a tough time beating Idaho State. You put Paige on Idaho State probably wins because they will have to double and sometimes triple Paige, and it's going to leave those other women open. So Paige is really, really important too. If Paige was on Iowa, okay, Iowa probably would have beat Central Michigan too. Okay, and so they're both important, but there is this one fact. Paige ain't on Iowa and Paige ain't on Idaho State. Paige is on UConn loaded with 5-star and 4-star recruits. Okay, and that's just a fact. That's just a fact. And so UConn, they really don't need Paige to get past the first 2 rounds. They don't. They don't need Paige on that team. And so that's why I'm telling you, but Iowa does. They do need Caitlyn to get past the first 2 rounds. Without Caitlyn, they don't even make the tournament. Without Paige, UConn makes the tournament and gets to the Sweet 16. And that shows you Caitlyn's value. It shows you her value. So you can't devalue Caitlyn. You can't say that Paige is more important than Caitlyn. You can't say that. You can say that Paige throws a better basketball than Caitlyn with a lot of spin and velocity. You can say that. Okay? You can say that Caitlyn moves a little bit better. That Paige moves a little bit better with the ball in her hand than Caitlyn. You can say that. But you can't say that that Paige is more valuable to her team than Caitlyn is to her team. You can't say that because that's a lie. That's an outright, flat out lie. You can never say that. You can never say that. Okay. And listen, Caitlyn shoots a deeper three than Paige. Caitlyn shoots a better three than Paige. Okay. Caitlyn throws some pretty damn good passes too. Caitlyn will get out and defend. She's scrappy. She attacks the rim with force and she's aggressive as well. She makes her teammates better. She has a big personality. You know, she makes everyone feel really comfortable. Okay, so she's important on all fronts, even just in terms of intangibles. Okay, team chemistry, team morale. That's Paige. That's Caitlyn. She's a leader. Paige is too. But if you remove Paige from UConn gets to the Sweet 16, and they still win a Big East tournament. If you remove Paige from Iowa, they're finished. And that's just a fact. So we're not going to devalue Caitlyn. We're not going to act like if you took Caitlyn off Iowa, Iowa would still make the tournament. That's a lie. That's an outright lie. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. No growth in women's basketball so far in terms of competition and parity. It's just women, you have a long way to go, and it's sad, but you do. And I hope that today, we can see 2 or 3 upsets, because that will show that women's basketball is trending in the right direction in terms of competition at all schools. And on any given tournament day, a top seed could lose. That's not the case in women's basketball. And that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. So I'm not trying to purchase any ad spots for the first round of women's basketball. My company, absolutely not. Right? Because, at least I won't purchase it for the price you're selling it. I don't even care if it's Uconn playing. Absolutely not. Okay? Because these games are too predictable in the first round. Now, if women's basketball were like men's basketball and High Point had a good chance to beat UConn, some people could honestly see that happening. Yeah, absolutely. You can raise the price of that ad spot and I'll pay it, because the High Point could potentially win. You could never say that in women's basketball right now, and that's sad, and that has to change. And no one is even reporting on that. No one's even talking about that on TV or anything. It's bad, people. So anyway, that's the end of the video. Y'all take care.